this year? Is it going to be Conner?
Is it going to be Matt? Is it going to be Jacolby?
The starting quarterback for the North Carolina Tar Heels in 2024 is going to be...
You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, we're going to talk about the 2024 UNC quarterback room, man. And obviously, with the departure of the third overall pick and the 2024 NFL Draft, Drake Maye leaving, we have done a ton of deliberating over the past couple of months of who was going to take his spot as QB1 for this North Carolina program. And in this huddle, I'm going to try to focus on the three guys that legitimately have a chance of taking that quarterback one spot, right? And I'm not going to put them in any particular order necessarily on my depth chart, Coach Russ's depth chart, because I don't want to give it away. Stick around until the end, and then I will let you know who Coach Russ would start in week one. I'm sure that this thing is going to cause a stinking firestorm to a certain extent. It's going to be a good conversation starter, if you will. And I'm excited about this one because obviously this is what everybody is wondering. Who is going to be QB1 for the 2024 North Carolina Tar Heels? Now, I'm going to start from what I think is the oldest guy and go down to the youngest guy. That's how we're going to do this, just to make it fair. And then once again, at the end, I'm going to tell you who I would start at QB1. So without further ado, we're going to start with my man, Jacolby Criswell. Who's a 6'1", 230-pound senior from Morrilton, Arkansas. He originally committed to the University of North Carolina back in 2020 as a four-star prospect, and he was the number 267 ranked player in the 247 composite. When Sam left for the NFL, he competed in 2022 with Drake Maye for the starting quarterback position. He ultimately lost out to Drake Maye, who, as I aforementioned, was the number 3 overall pick in the NFL draft. So obviously he lost out to a really, really good quarterback. And then he sat behind him basically in 2022, decided to transfer out to Arkansas back home for the 2023 season. And unfortunately, in 2023, KJ Jefferson was still there, who was a pretty good quarterback in and of himself. And so Jacolby Criswell played behind him. And then after the spring in Arkansas, for his own reasons, he decided to transfer back to the University of North Carolina, where he's going to eventually get his master's degree. But according to Jacolby Criswell, he's not coming back necessarily to just sit around. He's coming back to compete. He recently said that in an interview on some of the Carolina websites, Inside Carolina, Tar Heel Illustrated, et cetera, et cetera. So, he's coming back to play some stinking football. And I like Jacolby Criswell, right? Jacolby Criswell, he's kind of shorter in stature. He's put on a little bit of weight since his freshman year. He gets a lot of Sam Howell nods because they're kind of like similar in size and stature. He's got a big arm, man. The dude's got a big arm. He can put some zip on the football. And, Jacolby is one of those guys where a lot of people thought back in 2022 that he could possibly get that QB1 spot. I mean, who knows how much of that was just coach speak and coach talk, but they really said that that was a very close quarterback battle. And so Jacolby Criswell can spin the football, man. He's been around. He's got a lot of experience, obviously. A couple of years with Carolina. He was over there at Arkansas. And I think that he is an extremely good asset to this football team. But missing spring ball kind of puts him behind the power curve, if you will. And he's going to have uphill battle if he's going to get that QB1 spot by week one. The second guy that we're going to talk about is the incoming transfer, Max Johnson from Texas A&M. He's a 6'5", 225-pound senior from Watkinsville, Georgia, with 2 years of eligibility remaining. He originally committed to LSU back in 2020, where he really did have some pretty good numbers as a freshman and sophomore at LSU. Remember, this is big-time SEC football, man. And in 2020, he finished 88 for 150, 1,069 yards, 8 touchdowns to only 1 interception. And then in 2021, as a sophomore, he completed 225 passes for 373, out of 373 attempts, for 2,815 yards, 27 touchdowns to 6 INTs. I mean, that's by far his best season. And if we could get those numbers like this year, dude, that'd be stellar. That'd be stellar because remember, if I'm not mistaken, Drizzy only had 24 passing touchdowns last year. So anything like that would be a huge plus for this program. Now, after the 2021 season, he transferred over to Texas A&M, 22, had a little bit of injury concerns. He completed 43 out of 71 passes for 517 yards, 3 touchdowns to no INTs. And then in 2023, a 5-star quarterback came in named Connor Weigman, who basically took that number 1 spot, that QB1 spot at Texas A&M. And then Max Johnson kind of played, after Weigman got hurt. And he played honorably, man. He had 1,452 yards passing, 9 touchdowns and 5 picks in 8 total games of play. He went 118 out of 190. So, Max had some good numbers against big-time competition, man. This isn't any slouch competition. And the guys played SEC football for 4 years, not just playing in the games, but obviously competing against these guys day in and day out. So like I said, he transferred out of Texas A&M. He lost the job to Connor Weigman, who was a 5-star. He's like a 98 grade, according to 247, man. So, I mean, no harm, no foul in that sense. Max ended up taking over for him after Weigman got injured, and then Max Johnson actually got injured himself. He fractured, I think, 2 ribs in 2 separate games. So he's an experienced guy. He can throw the football downfield. Though he's more of a touch guy, I don't really see a whole bunch of zip on his passes, if you will. I don't really see him as a guy that necessarily is just going to throw the needle. He's not going to step up in the pocket and throw rockets in between safeties and linebackers or anything like that. But he's intelligent. He's a smart dude. And, you got to like Max Johnson coming over because he gives you so much experience, right? He's often considered a pocket passer. I think that's probably the best way to categorize him. He is sneaky athletic, though. He'll give you a little bit of athleticism that might kind of surprise you out there on the edge. But one of the things he needs to do is he needs to get out of bounds as opposed to trying to take on linebackers and safeties, because that's one of the reasons the kid ends up keep getting hurt. But he's been given the moniker of a game manager. He himself has said that's kind of like a double-edged sword, because on one end you could say you're an intelligent guy who makes the correct plays, and on the other end some people say you're a game manager because you're not exciting, right? You can't make the big play. You don't pop, so he kind of takes a little bit of, you can tell, he takes it a little bit on the chin. He's like, I kind of like it, but I don't like it. Don't say that about me, right? I'm not just a game manager. I can make all the throws. He's kind of said that in his interviews, man. But like I said, he's an experienced guy. He's a smart guy. One of the issues that I have with Max is he's a bigger frame guy, but a lot of times he kind of sits in the pocket, sometimes to his own detriment. You could say that it's nice he stands up there tall. He doesn't necessarily get frazzled with a whole bunch of pressure, if you will, but his numbers drop down, obviously, like they do with most quarterbacks. But he'll stand there and he'll take a hit, but a lot of times it's like a second too late where he's waiting for the receiver to get open as opposed to throwing the receiver open. So that's one of the things that I've noticed with Max Johnson in the pocket, and something that he would need to clean up for, because once again, we don't know what kind of pass pro to expect from this new unit. 4 out of 5 offensive linemen with the changeover. So that's something that he's going to have to get the ball out quick. He's not going to be able to sit there all day, and he's got to be a more decisive decision maker. And then after that, we got my man Conner Harrell. He's a redshirt sophomore, 6'2", 210 pounds. He's a quarterback from Alabaster, Alabama, and he was a 3-star prospect and the 33rd ranked quarterback in his class. He was the 10th ranked dual threat quarterback according to Rivals.com. Now, Conner appeared in 4 total games last year, completing 22 out of 33 passes for 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Both of those picks came in the Duke's Mayo Bowl against West Virginia. He also rushed for 75 yards on 22 carries, which is good for 3.4 yards per carry, and he had 1 touchdown rushing. Conner is a smaller stature dude in the sense that he's not thick. He's not thick like Jacolby Criswell. He's got a ton of zip on the ball, man, and he showed on multiple occasions that he's got track star speed. The dude, we've seen him run away from safeties and corners in practice. When Conner gets downhill, bro, he is stinking gone. And so that's one of those things that he brings to the table that not even Jacolby Criswell or Max Johnson bring to the table. He truly is a dual threat quarterback that can hurt you with his legs, man. He had some really big moments where he popped in the bowl game until he injured his ankle. But then you could also see some of the youth at times where, you know, the pass pro was kind of sketchy, especially in the later stages of that game. And I felt like, which is very typical of young quarterbacks, that Conner allowed the previous play's clock to get into his head. So pre-snap, you know, he's already thinking, hey, that last play, I have like a second to make my read and make my decision. And he kind of looked like he wasn't really going through his progressions in the later stages of the game. Now, remember, this is the first time that Conner started a football game, and it's in a bowl game, and Carolina had some opt-outs. So I'm going to give him, to a certain extent, a pass on that because it's very typical of young quarterbacks, right? But we can't forget that Conner does lack the experience, right, at the collegiate level. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, hey, we got to get him that experience, and that's very, very true. But it's just something to take into consideration when we look at who's going to be QB1 in week 1. It's interesting because Conner is such a good athlete, man. He's got such a big arm. He's a good kid. Everybody likes him. From all, you know, coaching staff, everybody talks about how this kid stays after, you know, practice. I was about to say after work. He stays after practice. He's just really, you know, in tune with honing his skills and trying to be the best teammate, the best quarterback that he can be. And I think the kid's got tremendous upside. Like I said, he stinking showed some really good flashes in the bowl game. But here's where the controversy starts, if you will. Now, let me preface this by this. I'm not at practice, okay? I don't have any insider information, okay? I'm just a fan like you are, but I want you to hear me out, okay? 8 p.m. kickoff. It's an away game. Big Ten country, primetime television on Fox. Probably a sold-out house. I'm starting Max Johnson in week 1. I know that it's not a sexy pick. I know that I'm going to catch a ton of heat for that stinking pick. But I'm going to go with 4 years of experience in the SEC. You just can't overlook that, man, when you talk about the caliber and the stage that you're going to be on come August 29th, Thursday Night Football in front of the country. Now, before you hate me, okay, I 100% believe that Conner Harrell needs packages. I 100% believe that he needs packages. And I'll even say this. 2-3 stinking possessions goes by and Max Johnson's got a stagnant offense. Pull him, right? Put Conner in there. Give him the reins. 100%. Because what I'm telling you is the real one reason why I would start Max Johnson is because of the experience. If that's not necessarily becoming a variable that Carolina can use to its advantage, well, then I 100% agree, hey, we're going to go with Conner Harrell. But come week 1, guy under center or in the gun, whatever Carolina decides to do, because they're going to be doing a lot of handing the ball off to stinking O, I'm telling you right now that I'm going with the experience. Max Johnson is not going to be wide-eyed with the lights on. He's been there too many times, right? Over the course of the last 4 years, big-time football. And I know a lot of Carolina fans because I've seen them all over the boards. Everybody is calling for Conner, and I understand it, and I'm pulling for the kid as well. Okay, I'm just telling you from a coach's perspective, somebody on the outside looking in, I can't help but put a premium on the experience. And I know that those lights won't be too bright for Max Johnson. So I'm going to go with the wealth of experience over the kid that's young, talented, and has a really high ceiling. So I want you to let me know what you think about Coach Russ the Tar Heels pick for QB1 in week 1. I'm sure that I'm going to get a lot of stinking pushback on this one, man. But it is what it is, man. That's who I'm going with. Am I completely off my rocker? Or do you kind of understand where I'm coming from? Comment down in the comment section. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I can't wait to chop it up about this one, Tar Heel Nation. We'll see you on the next one, baby.